All right. So let's sit nice and tall and just close the eyes. And take a breath in and a breath out. Just allow yourself to arrive in the moment, to have a deep sense of awareness. Follow the trail of breath through the body, noticing how it feels to breathe in, how it feels to breathe out, and what are the qualities that you are surrounding that breath with. Anticipation, resistance, joy, sadness. What are you accompanying the breath with? And there's no right or wrong answer. It's just awareness. And then as you are becoming more and more aware of your own presence, of your own breath, imagine that there is a light that's growing brighter and brighter, showering over you, saturating you with radiance and with love. And as you breathe in that love. And as you breathe out, you express that love. And we transform from the human being who's worried about all the attachments and the accompaniments to the human being in love. And drawing the hands together in front of the heart, we'll lift our voices in one Om. Take a breath in. Om. Bowing the head toward the heart, acknowledging all that is. And draw the face to center and release the hands. So today we'll talk about chapter 12 of the Bhagavad-Gita. And this chapter is the Yoga of Love. The Yoga of Love. It's potentially the shortest chapter. It's very short. It's extremely short. It's only a couple of pages. But it has so much in those couple of pages. It's just amazing. And so it starts off by Arjuna asking Krishna, what is better? Is it better for a seeker to follow you and adore you in a personal form or as formlessness? We, I think, have a tendency to feel that as we become deeper in our devotion, we should let go of things like the form that we pray to. And that somehow, if we can commune or connect with or realize ourselves as an aspect of that formlessness, that somehow will become spiritually enlightened. That enlightenment is at that end of the spectrum, awakening, self-awareness. We do tend to do things like we put things into a hierarchy of, kind of primary, foundational, beginner, intermediate, right? Yoga teachers in the room, right? Beginner, intermediate, advanced. What's the difference between those? Nothing really, except for the complexity of the thing, right? The complexity of the thing. And yet, if you go to any great teacher throughout time, they will tell you the same thing. They will say, the most powerful postures are the simplest ones. The most powerful postures are not complicated. The most powerful practices are not complicated. They're things that the practitioner can identify with very easily, like the ability to rotate the wrists, to clench and release the toes, to breathe. Krishna says something quite similar to Arjuna. He says, most students, if not all students, seekers, will have a very difficult time adoring me without a form. Because the human mind is not made to appreciate something that it cannot sense with the senses. It can't see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it. So how can you love it in a human way? And so Krishna tells Arjuna this. He says, your average seeker, and even your advanced seekers, if you want to call them that, generally, every human being will have a very difficult time adoring divinity in a formless state. It sounds very romantic, that all things everywhere, the consciousness flowing through the universe, and it is very beautiful. But there's nothing there for us to anchor our human self to. There's nothing to grab onto. And as humans, we do like to anchor ourselves to something. We like to have some kind of firmity to put our feet on, something to describe, something to say. He said, so for almost all, if not all seekers, best that they adore me. Capital M, Krishna. He said, best that they look at the personalized form. Because you can see the Mother Durga, the Mother Saraswati, the Mother Saraswati. You can identify with her, with Krishna, with Shiva, with Christ, with Allah, with Muhammad, with Buddha. You can identify with that in your humanness. And therefore, you can come to love that in your humanness. It doesn't mean that you couldn't eventually come to love the formless also, because it's a graduation of sorts. But to begin this path and to jump to that extreme would not be a successful jump. It just wouldn't be, because we're just too attached. I want the book, I want the face. I want the words. I want the things that I can anchor into. So this is very important. And so when we sit there and say things like, well, I don't feel the oneness. I don't feel that flow of consciousness. I can't imagine it. It's perfectly normal. It's absolutely normal. It's absolutely human to have difficulty with such abstract concepts that don't have some type of sensory impression associated with them. Does that make sense? Yeah. So then what do we do? Because we know that we're constantly taught and told, that there is this formless consciousness, which is divinity itself, which is everything, everywhere. But the heart yearns for something it can identify with. So what do? Well, initially we typically will come to a form, one form, be it Durga or Kali or Shiva or Krishna or Christ. We come to the one form. We say, this is it. This is the form. And we learn how to pray to that form. We learn how to interact with that form. We learn how to have a relationship with that form. We learn how to love that. But we're so possessive as human beings. We begin to learn how to love that form, and then we make the mistake of thinking that, well, if I also love this form and that form, then I'm a bit of an adulteress, aren't I? I'm a bit of a cheat. I'm not being faithful. But Krishna would say, all the great sages through time would say, you begin by loving a single form, learning how to love. And that leads you to loving all forms, all expressions. and to understanding that there's not a difference from one to the next, except for the difference that you impose upon it yourself. Does that make sense? So this brings us into just kind of our general life, also. And when we can say, we don't have to love just one person. Yes, have monogamous relationships. I'm not talking about that aspect of it. But the love, the spiritual love, the human love. You can love your spouse and love your children and love your neighbor and love the person who packs your groceries and love everybody. And by loving everybody, you're not taking anything away from anybody else. As a matter of fact, the more that we are capable of loving, just openly loving, without attachment, without expectation, the more that we empower ourselves to such a deep love that it includes all and excludes none, the more powerful the love is that we will be able to express toward those who are close to us and to those who are far away, to those who we know very well and to those we don't know at all. As long as we separate out and we say, well, Christ is over there and Shiva's over there and Durga's right here, as long as we're separating them, we're also going to be separating each other. And we're going to say, well, you're close to me, you're not close to me, you're far from me, I don't even know you over there, And so you over there isn't even going to have any kind of a priority for me. Only the person who's closest or people who are closest will. But the reality is that with true love, with deep divine love, all have priority. All have priority. And why do all have priority? In one level, because we come to understand that as long as there is a single soul suffering in this world, we still have work to do. We still have love to cultivate. We still have unity to remember. We still have service to commit ourselves to. As long as a single soul, a single being, human or not, is suffering needlessly in this world. This world that's created by humans. Not the natural world, because the natural world is what it is. The natural world is not personal. The natural world isn't picking and choosing and saying, you're going to get a promotion, you're not going to get a promotion. You're going to be socioeconomically depressed. Nature doesn't do that. Nature isn't prejudicial. Nature just happens. And the tree grows and the tree falls. And the bird makes a nest in the tree, and sometimes the nest thrives and sometimes it doesn't. It's just nature. But in our man-made, in our human-made world, these types of things are prejudicial in nature. We see one group as being more valuable than another. We see one group as being more deserving than another. We protect one group over another. And therefore we keep ourselves embedded in separation. When we learn how to love all aspects of God equally, with the same reverence and joy in our heart, then the door will be opened for us to also learn how to love each other equally, with the same joy and reverence in our heart. And then we'll be living in a much different world. A world that's less susceptible to prejudice and more open to joy and love and unity and support and coming together in community. Community is really wonderful, right? Community, C-O-M-M, like communication. Unity, the communication of unity, community. But our community isn't, our global community isn't the communication of unity. No, they broke that word. We got to repair it. Repair that word. Let it come back to communicating unity between ourselves, amongst ourselves, inclusive of all beings everywhere. So in this chapter, Krishna also tells to Arjuna, he says, So just think of me, just adore me, just love me so intensely, the personalized form of God that you've chosen. Just love me so intensely. And if you can't do that, if for some reason you haven't cultivated the power within your own heart to love me that deeply and that wholly and that completely, well, then meditate on me. Meditate. Meditate and let me be the focus of your meditation. In the West and in the East, there's a very large focus on meditation and stress relief, anxiety relief. Absolutely, these things are very true. It tones the nervous system. It can help in so many different ways. It calms us down. It provides us with all kinds of tools. Meditation is very valuable. But meditation in and of itself is the experience of God consciousness, which is not really an experience, but we say experience of God consciousness because in our limited language, we don't really have another way of saying it. In a state of meditation, you start off with dharana, with concentration, and you sit there and you count your breaths, or you picture the lotus flower, or whatever practice you're doing to concentrate the mind, to become one-pointed. And then when you're able to stay in that place of one-pointedness, they say that in that space, that's where you'll find God. You won't really find God. You'll realize God. You'll know God. But you won't really know God because you'll discover that God's not outside of you. But you won't know that because you'll be God. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Isn't it difficult? It really is. So ideally, rather than focusing in your concentrative practices on something like, relaxing at the beach. I remember I went to this practice one time. It was a meditation class and years ago. And I walked in and the teacher started the class off with this concentrated visualization. And she said, now imagine you're sitting at the beach, you're lounging back, maybe you've got a margarita. And I thought, I need to get up and leave, but I don't want to embarrass this person, So I just stayed, and she went through it and through it and through it, and then she had you writing these words in the sand and, and writing someone's name in the sand, and these practices that just aren't really proper from my perspective. Doesn't mean that they're not useful for something, but let's call them what they are. Those are visualizations. Visualizations. They are not dharana. When you practice dharana, the concentration, you're practicing something, concentrating on something that has to do with God. So it could be the lotus flower, because we all know there's spiritual symbology to that, right? It could be your breath connecting with the innermost self. It could be a picture of the Divine Mother or the Divine Father. But you're cultivating your mind in such a way that when you make that transition from dharana to dhyana, from concentration to meditation, what you fall into is God. What you fall into is God, because that's what you're thinking about. So Krishna tells Arjuna, he says, so if you can't love me wholly and completely, then meditate upon me. Let me be the object of your meditation. Which really also means let yourself concentrate upon me. Think of me always. When you're in these concentrative practices and when you're not. And then when you come into meditation, let it be me that you take sanctuary in. So when we're doing our spiritual practice, if we're doing visualizations for the sake of mindfulness and things along those lines, and we're exploring, these other practices are fine. There's nothing wrong with them. But just understand that if you're visualizing a margarita, you're not visualizing God. Not if you're thinking about, boy, I wish I had that strawberry margarita. That would be really nice right now. Oh, alcohol does calm me down, doesn't it? I guess maybe I should go get a margarita after class. Do you see the danger? There's some danger there. There really is. It's the superimposition of addictive tendencies. Yeah. So just know that. And instead, perhaps Think, oh, I'm going to keep my mind focused on the Mother Durga. And after class, I'm going to go keep my mind focused on the Mother Durga. And when times are difficult, I'm going to keep my mind focused on the Mother Durga. And when times are good, I'm going to keep my mind focused on the Mother Durga. I'm not going to drop her just because things are easy. I'm going to keep remembering her, keep thinking of her, keep thinking of Christ, keep thinking of Shiva, keep thinking of whichever aspect of divinity it is that you've taken as your personal avatar. Keep thinking of that. Keep bringing it into your mind field. And let that replace the other thoughts, the thoughts that don't serve you well. So he says, okay, so love me wholly. And if you can't love me wholly, then think of me only. Meditate upon me. And if you can't meditate upon me, if that discipline is not available to you, well, then do all work in my name. Do all work in my name. Let go of the idea that you're the doer. Let go of the idea that you're working for you, that you're working for someone else, that your work is for anything other than me. Let your work be for me. All work. From the moment you open your eyes in the morning until the moment you open your eyes the next morning. Let everything in between those two eye openings be done on my behalf. Let go of your attachment to the idea that you're the doer and that you're going to reap the benefits of this. So let everything be a service and an offering to God. And it sounds easy, but it's not at all. Because, we think that when we put an investment in, whether it's a physical investment or an intellectual investment or any other kind of investment, we feel that we're putting the investment in. Somebody should appreciate our investment. And then after all, I'm doing this so that people recognize. I'm doing this so that it helps people. I'm doing this for this reason, for that reason. And somebody has to acknowledge that I'm doing this work. And Krishna says to Arjuna, let go of that. Just do the work in my name, and my name only. This is for Krishna. This is for God. Let go of your will. And so there's a beautiful saying, not my will, but thine will. Not my will, but thine will. And I'm just the facilitator. I'm just willing. And whatever it is that comes out is because it's that. And in that way, we diminish the idea that this is all me. That's an ego builder, right? This is all me. To, this is not all me. This is divinity. This is God. It's very difficult for us to let go of those attachments, though, to the idea that we're the doer. And Krishna knew that, and he said to Arjuna, he said, well, and if you can't do that, if you can't let go of this idea that you're the doer and that, that the work is the offering, then let go of the fruits of the action. Let go of what comes after. So do the work, yes, but don't be attached to the outcome of the work. So don't look for the accolade. Don't look for the payback. Don't look for the thank you. Don't look for the outcome. Don't look for the after. That's hard too. You ever buy somebody a birthday gift? Yeah. And we're so compelled to say thank you because we don't want to offend the person that gave us the gift. And hopefully the person wouldn't be offended if we didn't say thank you. But the reality is we give gifts with an attachment. We want to know that they know that we appreciate them. Does that make sense? Yeah. I had this conversation with somebody once a long time ago. They're like, oh, I got this person a gift, and they didn't even acknowledge it. And I said, you got them a gift. You gave it to them. It was theirs to do with what they wanted to. I'm like, no. Yeah, but no. I gave them the gift. Of course it belongs to them. But don't you think they should say thank you? It's just nice, right? I'm like, well, if you gave them a gift and you expect them to say thank you, then it wasn't an unconditional gift, was it? They're like, but really, don't you think? And I'm like, no, I don't. I think that if you call something unconditional, it can have no condition. Unconditional means no condition. That includes thank you. No. Swamiji, he taught me such a beautiful lesson in this one time. I was accompanying him to this celebration, and there were a lot of people there, and when the car pulled up and we were getting out of the car, one of Swamiji's devotees ran over to him with this bouquet of flowers, that huge. I have never seen a bouquet so huge and beautiful before. This man could hardly carry it. It was so large. And he gives it to Swamiji and he touches his feet and he's like, oh, Swamiji, it's so good to see you. And so Swamiji he's fawning over the flowers, and he's like, oh, these are so beautiful and how kind of you. And right in front of the man, he turned around to me and he said, Sura Mataji, look what I have for you. And he handed them to me as a gift. And I looked at him and I looked at the man, and the man must have seen that I was a little concerned about his feelings. And he said, I gave them to him. He can do whatever he wants with them. I'm just grateful to have had the opportunity to share something beautiful with him. And I thought, wow. So I gave flowers to everybody. But isn't that what it is? It's the redistribution of beauty. It's the redistribution of love. It's constantly redistributing and saying, this does not belong to me. It doesn't belong to anybody. But while it's here, let's share it. Let's just share it. And let's not have I like you or I don't like you as the groundwork for that sharing. Don't let it be a prejudicial act. Let it be a selfless act. Just give. Let go of the outcome. Don't have an expectation of a thank you or of an accolade of any kind. Just be present. Do the work. And let go of the fruits of your labors. Krishna recognized it's not easy for humans to do that, because even something as simple as a hello. You walk past somebody, hi. They don't say hi to you. Oh, why didn't they say hi to me? Man, they're nasty, they're mean, they're this, they're that, they're rude, right? We can't even say hello or hi or good morning without an attachment to it. Always worried about the fruits, the outcome. So Krishna said, well, then if you can't do that, then, he always gives us so many options. He said, if you can't do that, then just think of me. Just think of me. In the difficult moments, in the easy moments, in all the moments, just think of me. Just think of me. There's a place where he says, just in the last breath of life, let me be the only thing you think of. That's a big statement, because we're like, oh, great, I'm off the hook for all that other stuff. I don't have to let go of my expectations. I don't have to let go of the outcome. I don't have to sit in meditation for hours. I don't have to invest myself in selfless love. All I have to do is think of Krishna on my last breath. Oh, easy. Not. That's the hardest of all of them. The hardest of all of them. Why is it the hardest of all of them? Because however old you are, you've lived that many years, that many number of days, that many number of minutes engaging in self-sabotage and prejudice and anger and sensory perception and attachment. And you think that by engaging in all of that and very rarely flexing a muscle of self-control, that in the last moment of your life, you're going to be able to love unconditionally and think of God only? No. So that was Krishna's way of saying, if you can't do this, do this. If you can't do this, do this. If you can't do this, do this. And if you can't do this, then just think of me in your last moment of being. Which, by the way, little joke there, you can't do that, so go back to the beginning and start with that. Love. Learn how to love. This is called the chapter, the yoga of love, because love is the key. Break down all the barriers that you've put up to love. That doesn't mean to be nice to everybody. It means kindness. Those are two different things. Nice, kind, two very different things. It means don't hurt other people. Even if you feel like you want to dig it in a little bit, don't do it. Just back up and say, Krishna, 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 Krishna. Durga, 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 Durga. All right? You want to curse somebody out? Don't do it. Just turn around and say, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. Muhammad, 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 Muhammad. And let that become the thought pattern, the tendency, instead of the harmful act, the harmful thought, the harmful intention. And Krishna goes on to tell Arjuna, he says, Arjuna asks him, who's your favorite? Who's your favorite student? Who's your favorite disciple? And who do you love the most? And Krishna says, that individual who is the same in insult or compliment, that individual who is the same in difficult times and easy times, that individual who is the same in wealth or poverty, no matter their station in life, no matter their experience, that individual who can hold into that sameness, into the peacefulness, who is always peaceful inside, that individual. Now, is he saying he has a favorite? Is he saying he loves that person more? That's not really what he's saying. What he's saying is that individual knows him and can therefore know love. That individual is working toward liberation from those anchors that keep them attached to suffering and ignorance. In ignorance, we don't know we're loved. In ignorance, we may know the name Krishna, and we may have some idea of something, but in ignorance, we don't know. We don't know how to love or be loved. We don't know because we are attached to the outcome, to the work, to what it's supposed to look like. Spirituality is supposed to look sexy, right? It's supposed to look easy. It's supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be like, I'm opening up my heart and all the butterflies are flying out. And it's not. No. I'm opening up my heart and I'm saying, put more daggers in. Put more daggers in. Go ahead. Because with love, there is an understanding, a deep, true, honest understanding that this human life has more daggers than butterflies. And if we only avoid the daggers, then we'll spend our life in a state of avoidance. In other words, if we avoid the pain of our human life. So we welcome the pain. And we welcome the beauty. We welcome it all. I think sometimes tattoo artists are pretty brilliant. You ever see a tattoo that has a butterfly and a dagger in the same artwork? Right? Yeah, because it's really all the same. It's like you have to get over one or the other, but actually you have to get over both of them. Stop thinking that the pain has to go and the beauty has to arrive, because that's not sameness. It's, can you recognize the divinity in all of it? Can you open your heart and recognize, this human embodiment is going to have pain associated with it. My heart is going to be broken. I'm going to have moments where it's difficult beyond imagination. And I'm also going to have moments where it's not, where it's just simply joyful and beautiful. And can I reach within myself? Is my inner sea peaceful enough that I can reach within myself and hold the boat steady no matter what type of tumultuous sea I'm traveling through, navigating it? Can I just remain steady with my mind on Krishna or Durga or Christ or all of them, and in not saying things like, why me? I'm angry at this. This shouldn't happen to me. I deserve better. These types of stories. Because when we say things like that, when we say things like, I deserve better, then we're putting the blame out into the world. And certainly there is social injustice. So I'm not talking about that here. I'm talking about our typical tendency to put blame outside of ourselves, when in reality, if we look, most of us have very much what we need. We actually all do. But social restraints and constraints weigh heavier on certain people and populations than others. And can you imagine, just take a moment right now and imagine if you were raised as part of a minority community, maybe you were, where things were withheld from you. You didn't have the option to go to a good school. You didn't have the option of having up-to-date textbooks and technology. You didn't have the option of walking home and feeling safe in the middle of the day. You didn't have the option of having police officers who respect you in your neighborhood. You didn't have the option of having social programs available to you. So these are all those types of circumstances, they are both included in this conversation and not. Because when we're addressing social injustices like that, the tendency for one group of people to really come down on another group of people in a way that creates massive amounts of unnecessary suffering, we have to start talking there about broad-scale solutions to that social injustice. We have to start talking there about how to bring ourselves forward in the light that Krishna is actually talking about in this chapter when he says selfless service. Commit yourself to the end of suffering for all beings. Commit yourself to being better, doing better, inspiring goodness. Does that make sense? I went off on a little tangent there. But I always want to make sure that, and I think that you do understand that I'm not talking about spiritual bypassing here. I'm not saying if everybody would just wake up and know Krishna, they would be fine. I mean, there is a level of that is true. But we don't jump from here to that level without doing all the work necessary in between. And all the work necessary in between includes social justice, personal justice, personal detachment of a healthy matter, rectifying, reconciling all of your own personal traumas. That's the space between. That's the space where not only do we learn how to unburden ourselves of unnecessary suffering, we also learn how to come into service of the unburdening of others. And in that time, we are also learning how to love. How to love. Some of you have heard this story before, I'm sure. In my younger days, I went to the city a lot. I used to love New York City. I still do, but I don't go there very often anymore. But every time I would go there, I'd go in and buy food for the homeless people sitting out on the street. I'd give them money. And typically, the people who I was with, they'd always be like, why are you giving them money? They're just going to go drink it in the bar, or use it on this. And I would always say, it's none of my business. It's none of my business what they use it on. I'm giving it to them. They're hungry. They need food. I don't know. Maybe they need to go get something from the store that, so let them have. I have extra money in my pocket right now. Finally, one day, a gentleman, part of the group I was with, got very angry with me. And he said, I'm not going to walk through the city with you if that's what you're going to do, because it's just a waste. He said it a bit more gruffly than that, but they don't deserve that. So I just turned around to him and I tried to stay very calm, but that wasn't my tendency in that time in my life. And I just looked at him and I said, you know what? This is the way that I look at it. I think it's a very complicated situation, homelessness. But the one thing that I will focus on is that each and every one of those people are in that particular position, not because their human self wants to be there, but because their spiritual self is giving me an opportunity to be a better person. They're sitting there with no shelter, with no food, with no health care, with people being cruel to them, spitting at them, cursing at them, calling them names. They're sitting there so that I can walk by and have the opportunity to practice kindness, to practice non-judgmentalism, to practice generosity, to practice being a good person. They're there so that I have the opportunity. How humbling is that? And he just didn't know what to say, so he walked away from me. But that's truly how I feel. And not only about homeless, but about everybody, everywhere, for every situation. The person, who makes my coffee at the Starbucks or the local coffee shop, they're there giving me an opportunity to be kind and grateful. The person who's having difficulty carrying 3 bags of groceries walking through the parking lot is giving me the opportunity to be generous with my time and to be supportive and to say, can I be of service to you? Every single person is present, giving this opportunity to each and every one of us. And if we want to take that to the next level, we can say, every single person is God approaching you and asking you for a relationship. Now, I don't know about you, but if God walks up to me, I'm certainly not going to spit at him. I'm not going to tell him he's beneath me, she's beneath me, it's beneath me. I'm not going to say, oh, you didn't show up in the right form. I'm not going to be that. I'm going to bow down. I'm going to say, you're God approaching me for a relationship. I'm in 100%. 100%. Or as many percentages as I can muster in that given moment. And if it's a moment where I can't muster that acceptance, I'm going to be honest with myself about it. And I'm not going to say, well, in this moment, I'm not going to give anything to that person because they obviously don't deserve it. No, I'm going to be honest with myself and say, in this moment, I cannot consciously be present to this because in this moment, I don't have the skill. I have put a blockade up and said, no, I have done that for whatever reason. Does that make sense? Self-responsibility. Absolutely. Do a time check. Oh. Questions or reflections?
I have something.
Yes.
It's kind of both, because I think, when we were going back to the saying thank you, manners of probably a lot of us were taught this is what you do. I don't know who did that, but that's the land we were raised in.
Yeah.
And that expectation, I get what you're saying about that. But I want to make sure I'm picking up what you're putting down and on the right path, because I have noticed in the past, like I'd be walking in the park with my dog and I'd be like, good morning, hello. And if somebody didn't, I'd be like, you know, like, you know.
100%.
And so I'm like, well, what's wrong with you? And I've gotten to the place where I think it's just me sharing when the light is there, where it's good morning, or I said to a woman yesterday, I'm like, you look lovely, because she did, and I kept moving. I don't need her to tell me thank you. I truly, it came through me, you look lovely. I saw a man come, must be from church. I'm like, aren't you dapper today? And I keep on trucking, you know, but it just comes out, and I think that's, for one, I know it's growth, but I think that's just true kindness that I'm able to now share. And on the days that I'm just like kind of grumbling myself, I just don't, you know, I'm just like, I'm shut down now. But I think I've graduated to that place where I'm just here to share it with you. You don't have to have it, but I'm still gonna, like, I got her a present today. And I'm like, you needed that. I saw it and it looked like you, and here you go. I mean, she did say thank you. It's really lovely. But to me, it was because I thought it should be with her.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping I'm getting to that, away from the, but, you know, and going on the good path.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. So think about that for a moment. You know, you're walking your dog and you say to somebody, good morning, and you're all happy, you know, and you're like, this person's going to see me happy and it's going to make them happy. And they're going to say, good morning to you too. Right there. Stop right there. Right? Why do you need this person to acknowledge your happiness? Why do you need them to tell you that your happiness is worthy of something? Right? So that's number one. Number two, then they don't say anything. And you know, I love the face you made, like, you know, those are daggers, aren't they? They're daggers, because really we have no idea what's going on in this person's life. Maybe he just found out that, you know, like his wife is leaving him. I don't know. I mean, you put it there. It could be anything of 10 million things. Maybe the person just doesn't. Maybe they don't speak. Oh, maybe they can't hear. Oh, right? Maybe they just don't want to be bothered because right now they're shut down. And because you know what it's like to be shut down, there's empathy for that, right? To say, I'm not going to stick my tongue out at them. I'm just going to say to myself, let them be happy. Let them be peaceful. Let them be free from suffering. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Let them have that. Let them. And let all beings everywhere have that. Yeah, I love that example. That's beautiful. But now you walk through and you're like, you look beautiful. You look fun. I did that to a lady yesterday too. I was just taken. So a lot of times people will say that. They'll say, I love the orange. Oh my gosh, it looks wonderful on you. Keep wearing it. I'm like, don't worry, I will. You know, but this lady yesterday, she had on this beautiful, loud, vibrant, wonderful outfit on. And as I was walking past her, I just said, I'm in love with what you're wearing. Have a great day, you know, and I just kept going. And it was in part for her, sure, but it was also just because she made me feel so happy. She made me feel so happy seeing her, you know, and I just wanted her to know that. But I didn't want anything back from her because she already gave it to me. She already gave it to me because seeing her in her glory, wearing whatever she wanted to wear, you know, and it just brought such a smile to me that just letting her know that. Yeah. So it's interesting. And at some point, you know, we just have that feeling for everybody, you know, just acknowledging that we're all here making each other happy and miserable. Yeah. Yes.
Everything you've said in the yoga class has been so helpful. So I just want to say thank you to everybody because it's so wonderful to be here and so helpful. And I am going through like a major life shift, which I am really excited about, but I'm super nervous and there's just like every emotion. and I'm just kind of trying to navigate it, but I made a major decision on Friday to leave my full-time job after 5.5 years and not with a job lined up. And so there's a lot of fear financially, because it's not a decision I'm making out of financial practicality. It's kind of the opposite. It's I'm going to take 2 months off, which I've never done, and then I'm going to start a fresh job search, and I have no idea what I'm going to do, and I'm like actually super excited about that. I might do something completely different than I have ever done professionally.
Yeah.
Because I've always been a writer, and I maybe need to not sit at a computer 40 hours a week. Like I maybe need to work in a grocery store, or be a daycare teacher. Like I have no idea. But I feel confident deep down that this is 100% what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to spend time focusing on my health, my family, but I feel so nervous, and I have to go into work for 2 more weeks because that is the way work is. And there's like, if I worked for a year, I couldn't tie up all the loose ends. Mm-hmm. So I know it's going to be kind of a crazy mess. Like even if I do my best, which I will, I feel like some people will love me because they love me and I love them, and other people will feel like I didn't do enough to wrap everything up and I left them in a bad position, but it's just the nature of the work. Mm-hmm. Like there's like a million details. So I guess I'm just wondering how to spend those 2 weeks interacting with my coworkers in a way that I'm not freaking out with nervousness and all these emotions, and I'm also helping them, and I guess it's just a challenging thing to get my head around. Like I can't picture how it's going to work out, but I know that's my decision. It's already definite. It's already official. Mm-hmm. It's been accepted, Well,
congratulations to you. I know this has been on your mind for a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a struggle to be a working mom the whole time, for 22 years. It's not just this job. It's every job, but...
Well, congratulations to you for making a very difficult decision. And so the first thing that I will say is taking your attention to the person who is going to be angry or upset with you, thinking that you're leaving loose ends that's going to burden them. That has really nothing to do with you. That, they're playing the game of the camel's back, right? And they're just waiting for the last straw. And in this moment, conveniently, you're the one to point at. So they're feeling like that's their last straw. So there's nothing that you can do about that. All you can do is commit yourself to the work that you've committed yourself to, and have faith in yourself that you're a diligent worker, that you're a kind individual, and that you're going to do the very best that you can do. And that in the end of it, you don't have control over the outcome. You don't. Even though you say, you could go to work 80 hours a week for the next 2 weeks to get every single thing done, there's still going to be something that is not done. Because it's not yours to do. Oh, what do you mean? It's not yours. If it doesn't get done in these 2 weeks, it doesn't belong to you. It's not meant to be finished by you. It's meant to be finished by somebody else. As long as you're putting your best foot forward and you're committing yourself, to working as diligently as you always have, you'll do what you're meant to do, and whatever is left behind will be there for the sake of someone else.
Right, part of their journey.
Right, exactly. Doesn't make it any easier to accept, right? It may not help a whole lot in taking away that anxiety of interacting with people in those last 2 weeks. But it can provide some relief if you allow yourself to have faith in that. Have faith in yourself that you're going to do the best work you can, and have faith that whatever is left undone is meant to be left undone. And that it will be part of someone else's journey, because that's where it actually does belong. The individuals who love you, just love them. The individuals who are having a hard time loving you, just love them. And remain grateful that you've had this 5.5 years at this very wonderful organization doing the fantastic work that you've been doing. And also be grateful that, you can do whatever you want now, within some level of reason probably, but you have a plethora of choices. As you go through this 2 weeks, your chosen personal avatar, chant their name over and over and over again. When you're feeling anxious, if it's Krishna, 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 Krishna. Doesn't have to have a question associated with it, doesn't have to have a request, doesn't have to have anything, just the name. That's all. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Durga, 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 Durga. If you know the little mantra, then you say the little mantra. Otherwise, just the name. And whenever you feel anxiety, you say that name. Whenever you feel sad, you say that name. When you feel elated, you say that name. When you feel worried, you say that name. When you feel relief, you say that name. Just always say that name. And while you're saying the name, have faith in your heart that divinity knows that you're saying that name. And that divinity is not going to give you anything you cannot handle.
Thank you.
And I know sometimes people don't like that statement. They're like, someone said that once. They said, I hate when people say you'll never receive anything you can't handle. And I say, well, why do you hate that statement? And they say, because it's just so passive. I'm like, it's not passive, it's the truth. You will never receive anything in this life that you can't handle. You won't want to handle it, but that's different. I don't want to handle this. Not that you can't handle it. You will handle it to the very best of your ability in every single moment. I know, Karen, you and I were injured this year. Did you want that? No. Did you handle it?
I handled it.
You did, yes, and so did I, and I didn't want it either.
Perspective of this injury than any other injury.
Yeah.
That it wasn't just a better perspective, like that. Okay, I can relax now. I'm in good hands. Like I let myself be injured because I was like I didn't want it, but
Isn't that different?
It's very different.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I'm so happy. That gave me goosebumps. I'm so glad to hear that you said that. Oh, and that you felt that. I can relate to that because most times I'm a very type A personality, in case anybody's wondering. So most times when I'm ill, I just keep going anyway, But when that happened, I was like, nope, I'm injured.
You can't. You can't. So instead of being frustrated about it, just the nurses are taking care of me, the doctors are taking care of me. Like I'm in good hands.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Exactly.
There's nothing I can do.
Absolutely. And I just kept chanting, Om Shri Durgaye Namaha, Om Shri Durgaye Namaha, Om Shri Durgaye Namaha.
I was in a similar situation a year ago, except about 23 years, I think, at my office job. And I sort of soft-rolled it internally for maybe 3 or 4 months, preparing as best I could for those months, the organization. And then I think 2 weeks before, because I didn't know how they were going to react. They were going to be like, oh, great, let's support you on this transition. Or, hey, you know what, just grab your box of stuff and head. I didn't know. So I wanted the opportunity to help the organization as much as I could and prepare things. So I had no guilt. And then at 2 weeks, I let the president of the company know my probable intentions without fully committing to it. And then at 1 week, I let the other VP and other ones, the angry ones, no, so that they could use me to the best that they could within that short time frame, or just let me go on my way. Either way, I was fine. But it's interesting to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
As a single parent also, okay, working parent.
Yeah.
I hope that things have gone well for you, and it was,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Change feels good. It's just scary.
Yeah, I kind of leapt into an unknown.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right. It takes faith, right? That's something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not totally blindly, but
Yeah. Tarini, were you chiming in, or did you want to say something?
Yeah, I did a year ago as well in January. It was very scary, and I had a lot of struggle in making a decision, and there was guilt and worry associated with it. And then I really began to embrace the concept of being in what I was calling my sacred pause. Well, this sacred pause has allowed me to grow exponentially on my spiritual path. And I'm over a year, and I don't know,
I think it's amazing.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it's amazing, because it goes back to like whoever taught us manners. Like, whoever taught us manners in some way, shape, or form is responsible for our expectations of other people's manners. And, whoever told us what life was supposed to look like, right? So we're actually in this beautiful unfolding. We're unraveling this one big ball of expectations. And now we just kind of have a lot of yarn. And it's there for us to make whatever we want with it now that we've unraveled or that we're in the process of unraveling. So what you make is up to you, And the question is, how much are we relying on those ideas of what life is supposed to look like? Like I'm supposed to have, this salary and, marriage with 2.5 kids and a white picket fence. How much of that do I really have to rely on in this life to be happy? Because I can tell you that there are people around the world who have nothing like that. Their income is negligible compared to the U.S. income. Their houses are not McMansions. They don't have 3 new cars, and yet they're happy. So where can we reshuffle, renegotiate, renavigate our belief systems about what life is supposed to look like? And so I commend all of you who have gone through that or are going through that. It is a big jump. It is. Just keep saying the name. Yeah.
I ran into that particular VP that was upset with me last Friday on the street in North Carolina. And I walked up like behind him. I'm like, oh, hey, Miss Swamini, how are you doing this morning? And we talked, all the way, down the rest of the street.
That's wild.
Very random. Very random. Tarini?
Well, my reflection on this topic kind of ties in making that decision. You're making this choice for yourself, and probably why you did, and it's how it's opened things up. Where as I'm continuing to work, and it's always like that. She ends up talking about whatever is going. I was running errands yesterday, and I ended up going in. I just wanted to drop something off, and I had to wait in line. So I just thought to myself, okay, I really don't want to be in this line. So I started playing this little game. Okay, if I am united with all people, we are all one. Then any person who crosses my line of vision, we are the same. So I was just kind of watching, as people walk by and recognizing and sending them love. So it's just my way that I was passing time. And some of the different people that crossed my path, just kind of with each one, I was like, well, that's good. Yeah, right? Can I see myself in that person? I'm there, And by the time I got up to the register to check out, I really was laughing. I was like, I had this big smile on my face. And the guy who was checking me out said, thank you so much for coming to this counter with this bright smile. I really needed that. And it was all from me just pausing and realizing that it's not really a game. I wasn't playing spiritual. I was really trying to see that. And as I did it, I felt myself become lighter and lighter. So as we were talking about this, realizing that everyone who crosses my path is an opportunity to be loving, kind, compassionate, and of service is what Swamini shared. And that's even in that little time, that 10 minutes I had to wait in line doing that, I ended up sharing that, and it was not even what it just happened. It just happened.
Yeah.
So it's so powerful when we choose ourselves what then becomes apparent to us. So
Absolutely.
that was my reflection, because in my little game yesterday, it became such a powerful, fun lesson.
It is a very powerful lesson. And, the other part of it is to say that once we start to deconstruct the separation that we've created, that it's almost like taking weights off of our shoulders. It's taking unnecessary constriction out of our body and mind. We're circulating energetically more profoundly, more freely. And of course that's going to bring joy. It's going to bubble joy forth, because it's joy that's been shoved down and been like, you can't come up right now. There's too much else to worry about, So now joy just comes up naturally, and you see people and you recognize, it is. It's beautiful. And then it's contagious. It's contagious because other people are like, boy, you're happy today. What are you on? And it's like, unity, man, like, hey, unity and the freedom that comes with that. What is the freedom that comes with unity? Well, the freedom that comes with unity is, I don't have to hate you. I don't have to not like you. I don't have to say I like you, because of course we're unified, and it's like we're in the same plane. We're together. We're one. So we're in that oneness. We're beyond like and dislike. We don't have to make ourselves susceptible to these things, I don't have to, I don't have to be burdened down by those types of things. I can simply care for you and love you and be a good steward of the space that I inhabit that comes close to you by not harming you in any way. And of course that's going to bring lightness to the soul. Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful.
What's interesting with that is when we have the opportunity with people that may have different views. Flip on the media, we can see the different views.
Mm.
But when you're setting that aside, and then still having that experience with the person.
Yeah.
Whether you condone or agree with or this or that or the other, without labeling.
Mm.
And inevitably something will fall out of their mouth too, that will put them in some category or another potentially, but can you let that go too?
Yeah. Because the reality is, and I've had lots of conversations with people where we're so busy justifying and kind of proving things. So for example, if I'm speaking with somebody from another tradition, I may say something about unity and they'll come back at that with something from their perspective. Well, this is what we call that, and it includes this, but it doesn't include that, and they'll start to kind of justify their teachings, but they're working at their understanding of unity. They're working at their understanding of love. They're working at their relationship with divinity. So I don't really care what they call it, and I don't worry about how they framework it for themselves. All I'm happy to see is that they're thinking about it. All I'm happy to see is that in their tradition, in their practice, in their day, in their moment, they're contemplating love. They're contemplating love. Because I would so much prefer, in my own preferences, to see somebody contemplating love than contemplating hate. Contemplating unity versus contemplating separation. Contemplating God in goodness than destruction and devastation. So, yeah. So at some point, we move beyond this idea that we have to use the same words. It's all semantics, right? Like everything is in some way, shape, or form has to do with semantics. We all say the same thing, but in different ways. Hence, Christ, Krishna, Shiva, Durga, Kali. We're all saying the same thing, just in different names. So love all the names. Be indifferent to all the different personalities, of people. And just practice love, practice kindness. It's all we need, truly. All right, we've gone past our time by just a moment or two, actually 9 minutes, but who's counting? Any last thoughts before we close for today? We're good? Okay, let's sit tall, and we'll close the eyes. Take a breath in and a breath out. And draw the hands together in front of the heart. And together we'll lift up our voices in one Om and the All Beings mantra. Om. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Bowing your head toward the heart, acknowledging all that is with grace and acceptance. And draw the face to center. Namaste. Hari Om. Jai Mata Di. Thank you all so much for being here today. As always, lovely to see and be with each of you. Happy birthday again, dear Dira. Yes. Now that my mind is straight. So enjoy your brunch. If you're going to have some, please show everyone in the kitchen some abundant love. And we do have kirtan today from 12:30 to 1:30. So if you're going to stay for that, we'd love to have you. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Thank you.